support. But I think there is an option where you can try and get creative, maybe drag the creeps or ask for additional help, get some early ganks in, maybe from Bombi on the techies. I mean, Bombi on the techies, or rather, he used to go by Xiaobonbon. I think this was the hero that he really made his name on, even back in RSG. So I'm excited to see him bring it out again. No surprise that it's Grandmaster.
Well, I mean, I think that just is exactly why his name is Bombi. It's a techies. He's a techies player. Why would you not name yourself that?
True. One of the sort of only remaining bastions of Vietnamese Dota in the Southeast Asian scene. I miss the days of 496 gaming. Bring it back. Some of these.
Oh man, how many years ago was that?
No, I'm so sad. I'm living in the past, dude. I love okay. I got a special place in my heart for the Vietnamese and the Mongolians. Like, I feel like they bring a blend of Dota that's so exciting to watch. And for now, I mean, Bombi, I think he's been able to really prove himself on what seems to be the highest tier of Southeast Asian Dota so far, and I'm excited to see what he can do in this game, because realistically speaking, there is a lot of initial stun, and he is always going to be that follow-up in this game, right? So it's really all on him. He has the potential to just completely ruin the Faceless Void's game from the get-go, and then just start running away from there, rotate mid, help Ken out as well. Yeah, this is a lot of work for this techies to do.
Need the rotations desperately.
Oh, Stitchy. They got a little too comfortable. They thought, oh, Mars backing up, it's fine. Denied. Talon, 2-1 on the runes. Not the biggest of deals, but just a cheeky, nice little play, and maybe a bit of a sour note to start this best of 3 off on.
It looks like we're going to be seeing Venge lane with the Lina, which means, so like we talked about, right, the kill potential is absolutely there, right? One stun into LSA, the Wave of Terror with the fire. It is a lot of damage, especially on a really squishy hero like Lion.
Yeah, and speaking of kill potential, it's already started. Chuan starting the auto attacks out onto Ken. This is Viper gameplay, ladies and gentlemen. This is absolutely what you came here to see. It's so exciting. Yeah, I mean, that's just going to be Ken's whole problem to deal with throughout what feels like the first 4 to 5 minutes until rotation comes through. And I can't help but feel like between Castaway and Bombi, they're going to be a little bit busy trying to help their side laners, because if they leave, this Ponyo Jakiro can really put some hurt onto JG.
Yeah, like we kind of talked about, like there is the potential that Akashi does not about the Mars, right? Cares about the techies Mars, sure, right? The damage, the blast off, just the stuns coming out from the side of Neon. Couldn't mean trouble for Akashi, but as long as Ponyo's there, and as soon as Bombi leaves, no cares. He does not give a shit about anyone in his lane at that point. That's just free farm for the Faceless Void.
I mean, actually, now that we're talking about the Faceless Void being burst, it almost feels like that's the name of the game, because sure, you have decent magic damage from your supports, you got ton of magic damage coming out from the Viper, and if he transitions to the right clicker as well. But it really feels like Akashi has to be that guy this game, right? And if you're able to burst him down with a Venge Stun into Mars Arena, into, just all the Lina magic damage / auto attacks in the world, there isn't really a game for Talon. Like, they can't actually 4v5 that situation. So I really foresee that as we go into the later stages of the game, or even in our first items, it'll be reflected that way. That maybe Akashi focuses a bit more on survivability, just making sure that he can take that extended fight, keep the time box going, and actually stay alive long enough to quote-unquote tank for his team.
It's an interesting tanking Faceless. I mean, you're right though, right? Like, you're absolutely correct. The name of the game for Faceless Void, but so I do want to harp on a little bit of what you said there. I think that Talon, they still do have the 4v5 potential if Void gets wrecked in lane, and they need to make the 4-hero roundabout, right? As long as Magnus has a good time in lane, that's going to be their savior in the mid game if Void doesn't have a good game. Because as long as you're running around with Mag, Lion, Jakiro, that is a lot of kill potential, right? RP into Macro Pyre, Lion, keeping them in there as well as the Viper. It's a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think right now, Yokum's doing a really good job at spacing out and making sure he's just not getting out-muscled by these two relatively long-range laners, right? Venge as well as Lina. You get caught by a stray stun, it's an easy LSA setup, boom, 20% of your HP left. As Tron continuing the pressure out on this mid lane. Ken, for what it's worth, he is doing okay on the CS. In fact, doing pretty damn well, 15-5. It comes at the cost of his resources, but the fact that he's even going even is pretty sick.
Yeah, surprised to see more tanks or another South being called out. You just a little bit more.
Yeah. WS as well. Yeah, doing just fine. I mean, I say that until some of the rare starts coming in. And WS actually dropped them a little bit low. I think they should be fine here, but yeah, I mean, really scary stuff, you can tell. Castaway even has to back up South. Meanwhile, topside Bombi, is this going to be the first blood? Burning away to the damage. It's actually going to be at the bot side. Yokum gets cut down by Ken on a beautiful rotation by this mid lane Ember Spirit, but they're able to take down Bombi up on the top side. So 1-for-1 trade across the map.
Just the supports is not a big deal, but I think the really big deal there is Ken getting first blood.
Oh, I don't know whether this is as big of a deal, but the fact that the fully resourced up courier on Ponyo just gets killed off there, he is going to be slightly ineffective in this lane for a while. That's the problem with the Mars, right? If you're not at like 80% of full HP, you show up, you're dead meat.
Yeah.
You're hot.
Okay, so Lina, what do you think about this Lina build that we've been seeing a lot of, right? It's pretty much BOT's Gleipnir. And it's a little weird, right? Because Lina, for the longest time, has been focused around Aghanim Scepter, right? That's been the Lina this patch, or not most recent patch, 7.34 into 7.35.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too surprising. It just kind of harks back to what Lina was before the Flame Cloak sort of got introduced and found prominence. And it was a bit more of a meme item. TP into the mid lane, Chuan getting set up on Ken. This is the help that he needed, and he's gonna get that kill. This is not part of the plan, even though the Viper's doing well in the CS. They're supposed to be winning this lane, and Chuan unfortunately takes a tumble.
Where was the help from Talon? I feel like that was a really slow engagement from Neon and Talon. They weren't willing to rotate anyone.
Yeah, I mean, Yokum just comes back into the lane. I believe he TP'd bot, went back to that area where he just died to the Ember to get a D-ward off or set up some vision so they could see the potential rotation coming. And, I mean, we saw Ponyo, the result of the courier dying, right? Yes, he has the TP, but he's thinking, I literally have 100 mana. I come in and dual breath one time. I have no resources for the Ember. I'm not going to be able to get anything done. And at that point, I mean, your Viper's already like, what, 50 HP? It kind of feels like a lost cause. And now, it's not the end of the world. The Viper still, you know, 1 or 2 early deaths isn't the worst. But if this happens a few more times and Bombi's able to connect, things are going to get really rough.
Yeah, you know, Viper is this hero that really propels himself through the early game. And Spirit, he's had a good game himself. Viper is not known to be this ganking hero, right? Like, you're pretty much just sit in lane, force the enemy out, and make sure that they're having a horrible. None of happening really. Ken's been having a day.
Yeah, we're starting to see some of the lane play come into effect here. What we were mentioning about the Lina, the base range that she keeps away from her opponents. This Magnus Lion combo, sure, you have a lot of setup, but it's just not enough to close that distance. And now Ken sneaking around, looking to contest for the 7-minute Wisdom Rune. This is a very aggressive move. They found WS in the tree line, but there isn't any further lockdown. They're just going to walk up here and flush that Lion away from his own Wisdom. This is so painful for the Talon lineup.
I wish mid laners did this a little bit more, actually. I really think that securing the on your mid laner is actually quite a good thing. Especially when you've got a hero like Ember Spirit who's so low committal, right? You walk over to that Wisdom Rune, and then you just remnant back to the mid lane, and it's like nothing ever happened.
Yeah, it is like nothing I've had. What Wisdom Rune? I don't know what you're talking about. That's what Ken is saying to them right now. Like, I just outlaned Chuan. And honestly, that's kind of what... now, the Viper is garnering a bit of an advantage, but this is to be expected, right? I'm a little bit worried at this point because it feels like if both supports from Neon converge onto him and we see Talon not respond in time again, Chuan's game could very quickly go down the drain.
Yeah, Viper, he needs items, right? Like, Viper is not a hero that you can go around without any item. What the items are going to be for Viper this game, because, like, we could see the old school, like, right, Dragonlance, like Hurricane Pike kind of build. There's the possible like Rod of Atos, which I've seen a little bit of, right? It tanks you up a little bit.
Atos kind of
later on. It's a little weird of an item, but it's kind of good this game. I don't mind it.
Yeah. That's what I mean by nutty, my friend. That's he's
Oh,
about
I'm
to go
allergic,
crazy.
so that's bad for me. Hold on.
Oh no, right, my bad. Sorry for not being
That's death.
sensitive.
That's death. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, I mean it would be death for some of these more basic calls as Yokum finding Ken out, but it's an amplified damage Ember Spirit. You sure you want to fight, buddy? Magic Missile gonna finish the deal on that Lion. Now looking towards Ponyo, they don't have any additional spells to cast on this Jakiro though. They'll be able to walk free, but this is, I mean, despite getting the shield rune on Chuan, the aggressive potential and the ability to set up kills favors the Ember in such a big way, especially when you're backed up by bench techniques.
And we see the net worth here too, right? Ember Spirit is being favored quite heavily.
I mean, all three calls on Neon are being favored over Talon right now. 2k gold lead at this early stage of the game does not really bode well. I mean, we talked about Talon sort of having that late game timing, but it feels like Neon, if they keep this trajectory going, they're going to slam it home in what feels like 25 to 30 minutes.
And they've got quite a decent building hitter in the form of Lina. I know you don't normally think Lina is like the hero, but it's such a low committal hero when you're fighting on these towers, right? Just because of that crazy attack range. Pair that with the swap as well, it's golden.
Set up onto Akashi, Arena Spear. This is what we're talking about. Too much burst for the Faceless Void to handle. Nothing in the back pocket to try and prevent that as well. Nothing like an infused raindrops. And honestly, even if he did, I don't think it would have mattered. So good setup there from Neon to get that kill, pressure him out. You know, false sense of security from staying up there only against JG for too long.
Yeah, much needed kill too, right? Void at the time was top of the net worth. Not anymore. That's the WS, but it's always good top net worth here. That never feels bad in a game, especially if you want to use these big cooldowns to kill them. Sure, yeah. Why not? Like, what is arena mad point in the game, really?
Yeah, I mean, similar to what you said, I think they're also thinking about the late game Void situation, and they're like, the longer we can delay that, the better, right? It's like, JG has like a increasing panic timer the longer you leave him looking at the Void just free farming away. He's like, guys, it's been 3 minutes, he's still hitting creeps, can we do something about this? I know I feel that panic as an offlaner sometimes, you know, you see that, okay, you know, late game, it's gonna be a bit rough for me to do something against him because Mars is very much a one and done type hero. He wants to get in, cast his spells, burst someone down, and really control the team fight. Later on, Void just gets so tanky for you to deal with, but Ponyo, he's the one caught out by this aggressive rotation. Ken finds another one in their jungle. 5-1 for Neon right now.
To say, but I think Ponyo and Talon, they're kind of okay with that. That gank was definitely meant for Akashi, but Akashi, right, he's farming in this top little strip where he's pretty darn safe, right? It's a lot of commitment that far, especially under the tier 2 tower.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of mentioned this before. It's gonna be a long while before Neon can really feel comfortable breaching that deep into the side of the Talon map. For now, though, the calls on Talon, this is kind of what I was worried about. You mentioned WS needing to have a decent game. The Viper struggling a little bit. Now, he's doing pretty well because he's decided to go a bit greedy, right? He's maxed out the Empower instead of going for the early Skewer and the Shockwave build, which is usually used to just kind of secure more kills in the lane. Oh, Arena catches him right on the start of that Skewer, and he doesn't stand a chance. Just as we talk about WS, it's almost like we reminded Neon, deal with him, and they absolutely do.
And this is going to delay that Blink Dagger timing, and this is kind of the problem with rushing Blink Dagger on Magnus, is it leaves you susceptible to a lot of ganks, right? You've got an infinite amount, like you've just got a bunch of gold on you that you're not doing anything with. And to be fair, Echo Saber doesn't feel too good of a build-up when you're behind like this anyways, so I guess you're kind of screwed either way.
Yeah, a little bit of an awkward go there. Ken missing the initial slight change, but the bombs, so much damage. They'll get the Chrono onto Bombi and spear back, holds back the Faceless Void for now. A beautiful swap, buying a bit more time for their techies, and an RP onto the Mars. Meanwhile, Akashi is dropping low. He's desperately trying to survive, and it looks like he'll be fine. He actually gets the time walk off, and Ken isn't able to connect. One last little fleeting Remnant, the auto attack. The poison damage is enough. Chuan cleans him up, and despite the Talon heroes being so low, they got what they came for. They answer back and they save Chuan.
That's a much needed kill on Ken. Ken is now a lot further behind than he'd like to be, right? We already talked about how Ember Spirit didn't have the easiest time in lane. Now missing out on a few key ganks, right? Instead of ganking the Void, you're ganking the... You get the kill, but it still doesn't feel too good, right? You'd rather be having that much higher priority kill. And then same thing here, right? You miss the kill on the Viper, you miss the kill on the Void. It just is starting to not feel very good for Ken.
Yeah, I mean, Ken's got to be kicking himself there because the initial sort of go from top of the river, if he just landed that slight chains, Bombi's connection would have been clean, right? But not having that initial bit of control just allows the Viper to crawl away at that very, very low move speed. They'll still continue to aggress though. A lot of ultimates used, and Talon, they're feeling uncomfortable if they need to take a fight again without those tools. Still aggressing forward, finding Ponyo, Spear, and Rebuke. It's so easy for JG. Just cleans that one up. Chuan, you gotta watch yourself. Swapped into the arena. That's not where you want to be. He's still standing his ground though. Very, very tanky on the Viper and starting to rip away on the Mars. Meanwhile, the rest of Talon have come through and found CDR on the back line. JG, he's burning down to the poison, and WS, one auto attack is all he needs. No, make it a shockwave. The time dilation will actually be the one getting the last hit, but Castaway and the gang, they've gone a bit too far. And Talon, even though they don't have the ultimate, it's a beautiful delayed wraparound to catch Neon with their pants down. Double kill for Akashi.
I have no idea what CDR was doing there, in all honesty. That was really weird from CDR's movement, right? Like, you are so far behind the rest of your team. You're kind of wide, like, in the middle, like, in the open, with nowhere to go at that point. Your team is so focused on getting the kills that you're like, CDR's in the back line like, hey guys, anyone?
Yeah, that's just kind of more than anything great recognition from Talon, right? Because I don't think you expect them to want to take the fight with their ultimates down, especially. You think about their mid engagement where they came out on top. Chrono, RP, Finger of Death, literally everything at the kitchen sink thrown, and that's kind of the traditional weakness of the Faceless Void Magnus lineups, right? You don't have your ult, okay, it's time to go, and you can't really blame Neon for doing that, but just that gold lead. It's getting a lot more even now, 8-6, and it's time for Talon to be the ones to make this aggressive move. Looking for CDR in the triangle. Seems like he's wise to it, though. Not sure whether it was spotted out by what. Yeah. They know that Talon are on the hunt now with all their cooldowns back up, and they'll be the ones to start pressuring this tier 1 tower.
It should go down pretty free. I don't think Neon really want to defend this. Especially like you said now with the ultimates up on the side of Talon. There should be reason to fight here on Neon. Especially when you should recognize at this point, Talon, they just routed into your triangle. They probably have.
Yeah. You can't really choose to approach from there, and the angle coming from the bot side of the map to this tier 1 is a little bit awkward, especially when you want to get that connection with an arena. And they're just going to give this one up. It's not the biggest of deals. This was bound to happen, especially if JG not rushing that Blink Dagger, right? He's gone for an immediate BKB, which almost feels necessary this game. So you can't really blame him for sort of just wanting to wait out that last component. All of the members of Neon tanking up in their own ways. The Mage Slayer complete for the Ember as well. That's going to increase his survivability by a long shot.
And it's kind of crazy. JG was so close to a Blink Dagger. At one point, he had like 1,800 gold. Yeah, he didn't commit for it.
Oh, they spot Castaway. I don't know whether this is how deep they want to commit. Swap back as well. Gladiator reveal ripped apart. That's not the thunder that you were looking for. Ponyo now starting to get run down as well as Ken chains them all up. Body blocks another. These two supports don't stand a chance. And Talon, they come a bit too far forward. This is why you can't breach that area all willy-nilly. Where was the Viper in that situation?
Farming.
Yeah,
Viper doing what he can to farm up his Manta.
Yeah, and it's not even his fault because it would take him a literal 1.5 years to travel to that location that you guys just... I don't know. That really felt so over-aggressive from Akashi leading the charge like that.
Yeah. Like Akashi, but who's going to be your frontline? WS, right? He's kind of the counter-initiator on the Magnus. With the blink and the... He's not ready yet to harpoon someone in and skewer them back. That's not WS's job right now. And if you don't have vision in the area, what's WS doing, right? Like, he can't go in for a skewer, blink skewer back. You've got on the counter initiation from the Magnus.
It kind of feels like they got baited by their own timing here as we hear a Viper Strike come out. Yokum pump faking that thing up. That looks like they want to go on Ken instead. They aren't able to stop the TP out. The Mars just escapes right from under their noses and the Ember flies away after grabbing that kill. So altogether, Talon starting to struggle a little bit here. It's now 4k gold lead, and to sort of complete the point I was saying, it almost feels like they're getting a bit baited by their own ultimate timings, right? They're feeling the pressure to make something happen with this Chrono, with this RP, but Crash, like you mentioned, it doesn't feel like it's their time yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially now with WS, he's going for this Orchid instead of the more traditional Harpoon, which means, sure, you've got kill potential on Ken. You've got something to potentially stop the swap if you get onto Castaway. But it just doesn't feel like it's good. It might be a little bit too late at that point.
WS getting aggressed upon up here in this jungle. Beautiful blast off from Bombi. He's starting to lay the traps. They're going to start exploding, but he's a bit too deep now. Finger of Death will finish him off. I say that from VZ, a ginormous one. It's actually the Viper and the Chikiro who goes down. Beautifully played from Bombi. He knew exactly what he needed to do in that situation. Sets his team up perfectly for success. And it's another 2 kills going the way of Neon. They are absolutely trucking it in this mid game here.
I wonder if WS was just looking for too big of an RP there. Because I feel like you had RP potential at that point, right? RP skewer back or very early on in that fight could lead to at least 1 or 2 kills going your way. But he holds on to the RP, which means there's nothing left in the tank for you, right? The Lion, the Jakira, they're not enough on their own. You need the RP as well.
Yeah, and I think it especially doesn't bode well, the fact that this Mars actually rushed the BKB but didn't even need to use it in the past 2 engagements. They're just feeling so far ahead. This Gleipnir build, we saw it as well, CDR. It really just catches the Void off guard in an environment where he's not anywhere. Okay, sure, he's halfway to the BKB, but you know, with this Aegis timing, they're really going to push the issue. And Akashi, he needs just a little bit more time.
Yeah. I mean, if he's only halfway there, he's living on a prayer at this point. We've got to make sure that Neon aren't ending the game before you get your BKB, or at least threatening your high ground or these tier 2 towers. You've got to be so careful that you don't lose the rest of your team the BKB. That's the point. If you have your BKB and your team's dead, who cares?
I think the most annoying thing is that if they throw out a straight Gleipnir, you essentially have to BKB as if your life depends on it. Because you don't have a choice. The LSA is going to come through, the stun from Castaway, the spear, and you're not going to get the chance if you don't immediately do it. It almost feels like you need to pre-BKB and find a chrono. But Neon, they're bringing the fight right to the Talon lineup. The divide and conquer, though, Talon, they understand that they can't really do a face-to-face situation. They're gonna split up all across the bot side with Ponyo staying up top to try and de-push whatever wave comes in.
Well, actually, at this point, okay, I know I said I was questioning, but at this point, I love the trajectory now JG is going for. Right, he's like, okay, at this point, I don't need Blink. A little, not too late, but it's just like at this point, I don't need it. Talon running, I don't need a blitz. Instead, I'm gonna go for survivability, BKB already, and now it's ads next, which is gonna be incredible damage amp for the Lina, as well as the Ember Spirit. This is gonna go crazy.
Yeah, and I think that's been such a key defining part of this patch, right? It's recognizing what you can do with your itemization, because these aura items are just so strong, but in a way, you're sacrificing a bit of your own game, right? So we always see the successful teams in this particular patch, they are able to, I guess, coordinate their itemization and their timings in that way that, much like what Neon is doing right now, you already have the completed Solar Crest on the techies, you're gonna have the completed Vlads on the Mars right in time for this extended push, and the Ember, looks like there's an item flying out to him right now. You know, BKB complete, a full one just sitting on the courier. I mean, Ken, he's ready to fight.
Steve, this is the 3rd game where we've seen an Orchid on here, and it's timed up with the enemy's BKB. So, what's the point of your Orchid now? Like, what is it doing for you?
The tricky thing is, it kind of feels like with this early Magnus pick, they kind of neutered it a bit here, so you might have to hold that thought. There's a setup, but the BKB immediately, JG runs straight into the RP. I don't think that's what he wanted. Ken in some trouble, and he's actually going to go down, but they might get the return kill. Yep. Magnus doesn't stand a chance, swap back as well, easy onto Ponyo, but they're actually on the other side. They've already set up and found Chuan, too slow for his own good, and the poor Jakiro can't fly away from this one. CDR with a double kill. The wraparound response is perfect from Neon. They do lose the Ember, but get a couple of key big pickoffs.
So that's what the Orchid's for. It's for killing the Ember Spirit like that.
Yeah, I mean, he did manage to get the BKB off in the end, but I think, you know, if you just get initially orchided like that, you're not really feeling super threatened. Ends up costing him his life, but I don't think it's the biggest of deals because he can just sort of come back into the mix and keep the push going. Now, they are doing a good job on Talon of splitting these lanes, right? The creep waves, at least in the bot side, CDR needed to sort of go back and attend to that, but that's exactly what the Boots of Travels is for.
And smoke out from Neon. Gonna try to route out this triangle area. Join up with their Lina. Maybe wait for someone to show their face mid. That's what JG's pinging at least.
Dude, the map control from Neon is insane. Take a look at their vision all across. It just everywhere is lit up, all the lanes they can see, and they know that if Talon aren't in these lanes answering, they're perched up on some little outcrop of the map. It's exactly the one they're invading right now. Oh, this could be the worst possible timing. No, they're also low. Swap back Akashi. He has the BKB available, but doesn't want to pop it just yet. Finally forced to WS. Already going down, but the last touch finds him with a slide. Perfectly done from Ken. And Akashi has to turn around for the chrono and try and escape, but Ken's hot on his heels. The defender's gate will actually keep him safe this time round. But they lose too. They sacrifice Bombi in that chrono, but that's your timing gone. Your BKB gone. Magnus had to use the RP for that situation. And I don't... Did they even get the Tormentor? They must have, right? Yeah, I mean, Ponyo gets his Liquid Frost. Whoop-de-doo.
Oh, no.
They are coming for your base right now. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. I would definitely have been more worried about the Lion Shard, if anything, right? Like,
yeah.
That feels so bad, right? You lose so many heroes, you use so much resources for Liquid Frost.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh boy. Yeah, let's go. Dude, they kind of neutered it a little bit. At least at one point, it was like a point and click, like mini stun. Right now, it just slows you to a crawl, which is like, okay, cool. Doesn't he already do that? It's the worst.
Yeah.
It actually makes me so sad as a Jakiro enjoyer, but I'm sure Talon, they're feeling a similar painful type of sadness here as they are 8k gold lead behind. WS and you know, Akashi, they just haven't really been able to connect. And part of that problem is because Tron, he hasn't really been a factor this game.
I feel like we haven't seen the use of all of these abilities put together on the side of Talon. We've never seen a Chrono macro, an RP macro.
Yeah.
Hell, even like an RP Lion stun. Like...
Yeah. I mean, hell, even like a Viper stand on the front lines and counter initiate from literally anyone else.
Yeah.
Like, it's all felt just slightly disconnected, but that slight disconnect isn't enough for Neon to strike. They've been so precise with how they take these engagements, and Ken, he's done a stellar job, right? Up into a losing matchup in the mid lane, he's come out on top, and this has been a great performance.
Absolutely. I think going into the next game, you're probably going to be banning this Ember Spirit. If you're not, you're going to pick it yourself, right?
Or at least,
but you're not.
It's going to be on the front of your mind.
This Ember again. Yeah,
for sure. Or at least trying to come out with a more cohesive, I guess, way of dealing with it, because clearly the Viper isn't your solution. Neon here, it's still going to be a bit of time before the next Aegis, but I dare say that they're strong enough to fight without it, it feels like. Although you would always like that initial insurance against the Faceless Void, in case Talon suddenly pull out a miracle of a team fight. And there's no better place to do it than the high ground.
You just gotta respect Chronosphere, right? Like, that's gonna be the name of the game throughout the entire, like, as we get near to the close to the end game.
Yeah.
That's right. Void is he doesn't care about your items. He doesn't care about how much gold. He just cares that you're stuck in Chrono and that he's hitting your face. Yeah,
I don't know about you, Crash, but I'm gonna need some time because I have a letter that I'm writing right now. It's an apology to JG for doubting him. Look, this guy, in the previous performances that we've seen of him, there were some of those, I guess, growing pains coming in from being more of a position 1, position 2. And even in his previous team, him and Ken always did the flexible 1-2, right? So depending on which heroes would go in the mid lane or the safe lane, they'd switch it up. So to come from that into a stable off lane, and even the itemization, it's been on point for him. He's come out on top in the lanes, he's done his job. Bombi slightly off the mark with that explosion, and they're going to be able to get out, but you can see Talon showing so much respect to their opponents. It's just Bombi alone. They don't know where anyone else is, but that's enough for them to run for the hills.
And once again, you got to ask the question. Like, that could have been a potential team fight, right? Let's say a team out there. Where's Viper? Sitting in the mid lane. Like, once again, like, I feel like Viper has not partaken in any of these fights recently.
Yeah, and honestly, good. Good. Stay out of it, Chuan. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you're ready just yet. Even with what looks to be the Hurricane Pike queued up on the docket for him. He's tanked up quite a significant amount though. I guess that's worth mentioning. But both teams setting up now around the Roche pit. 42 seconds until that spawns. And this is the chance, right? There is decent team fight from Neon, but so far they've been the ones on the front foot, able to get the initiation with Bombi as well as Castaway the swap. RP pulling the Lina back straight into the mix. She might just fall before she can pop anything, but the BKB, can she get out of here? Doesn't look like it. Akashi's found her. And now JG, the walls will protect him for now, but in some trouble. Ken caught by the Chronosphere. Is it enough damage? That's what the swap is for. Gets him out of there, and he's still doing so much work. But Akashi already finishing off 2 members and another skewer. Talon, they found the miracle team fight that they needed, and it's all off on CDR, showing on that wave. Bombi next to fall as well, and the only survivor is JG. That was as good of an execution as you could have asked for.
It just takes one, right? It just takes one Chronosphere, one RP, one skewer back. Anything that Talon can do, one, is going to be incredibly good for them, and we saw it time after time there. You got the RP onto the Lina, the skewer back, the ice path, hold the Lion Stun until the end. Yeah. You get the same thing again on the Ember Spirit. That's what the Orchid's for. I questioned the Orchid, but it's kind of working out.
That's kind of the issue with the Magnus, right? Into the bench. You talk about a swap save. That works for the Chrono where he has to walk up to you. And Lina is a good gauge of where you need to be positioned. But when the Magnus just pulls the Lina way out of your swap range, you're forced to play catch up. You need to just charge in all brazenly and desperately try and get that swap. And Talon, they didn't leave any chance for it. In a funny way, even though JG's itemization has been stellar, him not having the blink there delays his ability to answer back and actually put up any sort of a defense for CDR, and that cost the Lina his life. And suddenly things flipped on its head here. Aegis for the Void, Cheese for the Viper. This game isn't quite as much in Neon's hands as it was just 3 minutes ago.
Yeah, a little too big for your britches there on CDR. I'm not quite sure what the plan. Like, bait the Lina, but you're dealing with a Magnus, right? You cannot just bait your core like that. Hell, any hero, unless it's a support. ABJG Mars, right? Because then you skewer him back and it'll feel good.
No, I think
that's the only thing.
That was just a big wake-up call to Neon, because the one thing you can't do against a Magnus is give him vision before you get some. You need to at least make sure it's an even trade where you're holding one area of the map and they're holding one area and they're scared to run into you. Because if the Magnus runs in, I mean, WS had to buy back in that fight, right? They blew him up as a result, but he doesn't care. He's already done his job. So, you know, Neon, they need to make sure they hold these little outcrops of vision and fight around that. That's going to allow them to get those swaps, those Bombi initiations, and you wait for Talon to walk up into you and give you that info. Because every time you don't see the Magnus, that exact nightmare is going to replay itself.
Yeah, Magnus named the game Kidnapping. He's about the stalking sneeze, but Magnus, he's all about the kidnapping.
Oh my gosh, those things go hand in hand most of the time. But for Magnus, he's not. The thing about Magnus is he's not sneaky about it. He's just big bad horn just gauze you out of like existence, and you don't really stand a chance. I think JG doubling back for the Blink Dagger, that's an excellent choice there. I mean, he previously was queuing up the Hex, which would have been really good up against Akashi, catching him off guard, but I think they realize now that in these team fights, Akashi's not going to be just running up like that at any time. I say that as he's leading the charge on the smoke move, Talon. All the ultimates up, and wanting to fight in this area yet again.
It's all beautiful ward. Like, this ward is giving them so much vision.
Oh, they're gonna... Oh no, CDR. Oh! It's a good guess, but it's not the one that counts. The Lion looks to be going down here, caught up by the Gleipnir, and the Laguna gonna finish him off. It's time to retreat, Talon. This is no longer the fight you want to have. As here comes Ken looking for a punish. Gets keyword back for now, but that's what the BKB is for. Onyo, he's desperately trying to back his team up, but Chuan forced to pop the cheese. Where's Akashi in this fight? He's on the back line trying to 1v1 CDR, but I don't think you have the damage all on your lonesome. They'll try and turn it on to JG right now, but CDR, he's just doing too much damage. Turning around with the Skadi, working down the Faceless Void. No more time off for you, that's the first life. Talon, off of that failed Chronosphere, are just crumbling here. They just managed to get an advantage for what feels like the first time this game, and just as quickly as they got it, they've thrown it all away. 5-man team wipe. Okay, no, not that. WS is still alive, manages to sneak his way out of trouble. But that's 4 members flattened. If you count the Aegis, that's 5. CDR stands supreme. This is disastrous.
I know you can't see my face right now, Sneeze, but my mouth has been quite open for the past 45 seconds. I cannot believe Akashi just did that. Under no circumstances do you do that.
Dude, look. If he landed the chrono, we'd be like, this dude's a god, man. He's no wonder Talon picked him up. But to gamble that, the fate of that fight on that chrono, it almost felt like even if they missed it, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Surprise, your whole hero doesn't really do that much up against Lina, who's built to be this absolute machine gun of a damage dealer, especially backed up by Castaway. You didn't catch anyone in the chrono. You weren't able to kill any of the supports. Chuan was busy trying to even get a touch on anyone in the fight. It just wasn't a good look. And now Talon, as a result of that, they've lost 1 lane. And Neon will show that respect. They'll back up after taking the tier 3 tower in the mid, but 14k now, it's back in their favor. Neon are cementing it, and that was supposed to be an Aegis timing on the Void. What the heck?
Talon, I'm not sure what they do here now at this point. They're kind of in a position where they need to wait for their Chronosphere again, but you've lost your racks, you're losing the vision advantage as well, just because of the where Neon are going to be playing. So you do just buy a gem on WS, so that's going to change that entirely. So never mind. The vision advantage is now back in your favor as long as you keep a hold of that gem.
Look, let me introduce you to something called the Void Spectrum. Okay? The Void Spectrum. Basically, based on where you are in the game in terms of how far ahead you are, how far behind you are, the Void Spectrum is introduced. The lower you are on the spectrum means that you're relying on your opponents to make a mistake. I regret to inform you that based on the Void Spectrum, they are at like what, 0.2 or 0.1. They're no longer at the point where just landing a good chrono is enough. It almost feels like they need to rely on Neon to make a mistake, and this Castaway mispositioning might be the first one for many more to come. At the end of the day, it might just be 2 supports as the rest of the side of Neon. Okay, Void Spectrum up to 0.3. They get the ban. No. Bombi manages to escape. So, I mean, it's just one Castaway kill, and that's kind of what you need to rely on, right? Neon being split up, them being segmented, them not being ready to take the fight. If you can't kill CDR in the chrono, I don't think you're killing it.
Not with like 4k HP. That's just a little bit too much.
Oh,
oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
He just came by to like split tank it a little bit and almost lost his life in the picture. Okay.
So back to the fountain he goes.
Yeah, back to the fountain. He just came out too. He's like a support life. What can you do? So it's not, look, it's not over yet as long as Void exists. That's kind of what the Void Spectrum decrees. But Akashi, I think it's safe to say he won't be doing that again.
I would like to think so.
I would like to hope so. If not, this game's going to end a lot sooner than we hope. And I think both these teams, what they're showing here is that they are quite evenly matched. Talon really did a great job in terms of clawing and finding small openings to at least somewhat make it even. I know it doesn't sound that way just because of the 10k gold lead and the sort of fact that Neon have largely been ahead this whole game. But hanging on still here. Not by a thread, but at least by a piece of cloth. It's getting thinner though.
Yeah, Neon, they've got to start making things happen soon. And Talon, like, they're in a position where they can take this late. Like, they are happy to take this because of the Faceless Void. The only problem would be CDR. Like, you've just got to be careful with the Lina, because as this game goes later, Lina is also going to become a big threat.
Yeah.
But once again, we've talked about it, right? Void doesn't care about your net worth.
Absolutely. Well, for now, they are setting up for the third Roche. I think this is sort of their game-ender move here. The amount of bombs set up in this area by Bombi as well. It's going to be so hard to penetrate and find an angle to get that same success that you did beforehand. So Desolator complete on the Mars as well, so amping up some of that physical damage on some of these targets. Not the highest armor units in the world. Ken? Next up here. Still has a BKB to use if he chooses to and forced to commit it. And now he wants to turn around and find some action. Or maybe just back up. 84 seconds without that important tool though. It's going to inhibit his means of taking the fight. WS jumps into a whole minefield, but he gets what he came for, fishes out the Mars, and the Finger of Death finishes him off immediately. Mars
Nice
buys back.
You have to. This is the fight.
This is the fight. This is the fight. JG preserving that BKB in that fight though, so he still will have that available alongside the arena. On the flip side, you still have your Chrono and your RP. But you see immediately, these teams, they recognize they can't afford to run into each other's fields of vision. Bombi has reset up that minefield on that high ground, and they're starting out the road. CDR putting it to work right now. Is that an amplified damage on him as well? Oh, what? How fortuitous? Oh no, it's not. It's just the mass amount of auras causing him to glow. My bad. This Aghanim Scepter though could go over to the way of the Lina, allowing her to get that Flame Cloak. Uninhibited movement will be very, very useful. It doesn't look like Talon can do anything about it.
Surprised Talon, they just kind of waited too long on their wraparound. They were kind of just sitting around in this area, and they're going to continue to sit around in this area. Wait for Neon to show their face back up. Maybe CDR shows his face again like he did last time, and you get that skewer back.
Yeah, has the second life this time, but we've seen this story before. It's a nice lane ward, spotting out some of the Neon members moving forward. It's just a matter of if they want to set up this fight. Smoke up Neon. They know they need to tread lightly. WS pulling back CDR up onto the high ground. This is what you wanted. Has a second life this time round, but the blink forward from JG holds them in place, forcing the BKB out. Ken has that back up and is starting to encroach onto the Talon members. CDR, he's not stopped though. Chuan just melting. Akashi can't even get the time walk off. Where did he go? Chuan forced the TP out. He has not been able to do a thing this whole match. As the Faceless Void and the Lion crumble, and they don't even lose the first life of the Lina. And Ken, he's just done such a splendid job at splitting the fight wide open. And now they're gonna go straight onto the high ground. Buybacks might have to be forced here.
Yeah. It's not over yet. We still have the RP. We still have Chronosphere. It's not quite over yet, but it is, it's almost there.
Yeah. I mean, the one sort of thing you're playing for is the lack of BKBs on the side of Neon, but just how much can you do on Chuan? The reactive taser with the shard from Bombi being so annoying, just disarming Viper in that fight. The swap back as well. He's able to force up out the LSA, but he's in trouble. When did his HP go? The police, the last bit of damage. CDR finishes him off. They kill off Castaway, but he has that Aghanim and swaps back Yokum straight into his own death. You're gonna have to buy back on Chuan here. Try and work down at least that bench illusion. All you're getting is an illusion. You haven't even gotten the main carry on his first life. And hell, you might not even get Castaway. He buys back just to refresh himself. What a stylish play here, spearing them back. A bit of miscommunication, but it's not going to matter as WS just gets melted apart. Forced to buy back. This is the last stand for Talon here. But at this point, it doesn't even seem like they have the legs to stand on the RP. Where is the follow-up? They're holding on to the buyback from Void. This could be the chrono that they've been waiting for. 4 members of the side of Neon grouping up, but they still have the second life. Castaway has his second life as well. You just can't work through them as Akashi gets splattered like a damn fly. And the buyback finally comes through, but there's not enough damage. There's not enough control. They're just getting CDR machine gunned apart right now. As Ken getting a bit too over-aggressive, diving the fountain. It doesn't look like Talon are ready to give up just yet, but they might be forced to tap out. Bombi able to E-Blade himself and keep himself alive for now, but Akashi should finish him off. Once that taser's done, it's so annoying. And GG is called. You can't even kill the tankies. And Neon, what a stunner of a game 1 up against Talon.
Yeah, Neon have been looking on the up